Hello, viewers around the world. You're back. Well, you're welcome to another session on our Real Talk show. Real Talk is our show, a forum where we look into situations, issues that affect people, how it concerns people, and probably find solutions and actions to best address them. So with me on the Real Talk show, as usual, is my brother and friend, George, Bluetooth George from Toronto, Canada. You're welcome, Bluetooth George, to Real Talk.
Thank you so much, Mike Godwin, and thank you. Welcome, viewers around the world. My name is George Chukwu, aka Bluetooth George. We just want to welcome you on this very important segment. Thank you.
Thank you, George. I hope your network will stay firm for us. Yes, it's good to have you. George, we're looking into a serious issue today, real talk. We are talking real, and we're talking real because Nigeria is going through a political era where we mustn't make the same mistakes we've been making. So we're looking into politics. Real talk today is talking politics. And in that space, we're talking also on issues concerning our political candidates, the presidential candidates for Nigeria, the Federal Republic of Nigeria. So, George, we have a special guest this evening. We have Ekens Azubike. Ekens Azubike is he's in charge of the Ekens Security and Law Science Corporation. He says security is his top priority. Ekens Azubike did studies in science, political science, law enforcement and protection. He's a cyber security expert, counterintelligence, countermeasure expert. Ekens Azubike is also a digital and computer forensic investigator. Ekens looks into crime scene. Ekens has very good eyes on criminology, and he says he investigates in the deep web. So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Real Talk. Ekens Azubike, all the way from Quebec, Canada. Ekens, you're welcome.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Welcome, Ekens. It's good to have you here with us today.
Me too. Thank you very much.
Yes.
Great.
So, Ekens, we thank you for your presence. You have been well introduced, but also you are independent human rights commissioner of think tank, civil and political rights activists.
You're right.
Helping refugees and asylum seekers, philanthropist, a lobbyist, parasitiles and procurement agent, political mobilizer, international petitioner, consortium, investigative journalist, criminologist, criminal psychologist, and behavioral psychologist. You have a whole lot, attributed to you here. So it is good to have you with us. Thank you so very much for being here.
Thank you for inviting me.
Yes. So today we have a very important subject that we want to discuss. And this subject is about what recently came up in the political arena, where we saw one of the candidates, was, a situation that happened with him in 1993, a criminal situation that actually, if well investigated, could disqualify him from running for the presidency in Nigeria. And it's no other than Tinubu, what we call Jagaban. So today we have this situation where some information is coming out, trickling out in the communities about what has happened in 1993. And the question now is, if this is true, is it possible that we could be able to, this man could be disqualified? So I want us to, zero in on this and bring ourselves into this whole, conversation about what happened with him in 1993. And I'm quite sure that you are more than capable to handle this, because you have brought out some information, true facts, and court documents that actually authenticates what we are talking about here. So, Ekens, I want to ask you, you've read this. Can you please greet the public, introduce yourself, and introduce the subject that we're discussing today with facts that you have discovered? Because I know you dig deep, very deep. So Ekens, welcome.
Thank you very much I heard what you said. I think the introduction is well introduced, and there was a question you put forward in terms of the implication or the consequences of the new development in regard to the subject we are talking about, which is the candidate of APC, Ahmed Tinubu. Before we go into these documents, because of your first question in terms of the consequences regarding the political dispensation or equation in Nigeria, whether he could be disqualified, I want to read to you the section 31 of the Electoral Act governing the INEC. Are you listening to me?
Yes, we are listening to you.
Yes. So this is section 31A. It says that submission of list of candidates and their affidavit by political parties. Section 31 sub 1. Every political party shall, not less than 60 days before the date appointed for the general election under the provision of the Act, submit the commission in the prescribed form the list of candidates the party proposed to sponsor at the election, provided that the commission shall not reject or disqualify the candidate for any reason whatsoever. Now, on section 2, the list of nominations submitted by each candidate shall be accompanied by an affidavit sworn to by the candidate at the Federal High Court of the state or Federal Capital Territory, indicating that he has fulfilled all the constitutional obligations for the election into office. Now, my point here is on section 3, the commission shall, within 7 days of the receipt of the personal particulars of the candidate, publish same in the constituency where the candidate intends to contest the election. When we narrow down on section 4, this is where it's very crucial. Any person may apply to the commission for a copy of nomination form, affidavit, and any other document submitted by the candidate at the election, and the commission shall, upon payment of the prescribed fee, issue such person with a certified copy of those documents within 14 days. Now, within that 14 days, what follows? Any person who has reasonable ground to believe that any information under section 31.5 given by the candidate in the affidavit or any document submitted by that candidate is false may file a suit at the Federal High Court or High Court of the state, Federal Capital Territory, against such person seeking for declaration that the information contained in the affidavit is false. Okay, so Continue example on section 6. If the court determine that any of the information contained in the affidavit or any document submitted by the candidate is false, the court shall issue an order disqualifying that candidate from contesting the election. I hope this answered your question. And in terms of the presidential candidate, a candidate for the election shall, at the time submitting the prescribed form, furnish the commission with an identifiable address in the state where he intends to contest the election, at which address or the documents and the court process from either the commission or any other person shall be served. So this cleared this matter. And as at the time of this nominee, the new development was not in place.
Discovered.
But, however, those information is well known to the candidates. So, whether to the public domain or not, the candidate ought to have made, under oath, a true statement of the attached affidavit. However, if there is any indication that those information was not furnished to the INEC, that brings us to this section 31. In terms of the consequences, so there is a chance that he may be disqualified if this case is taken up.
That's predicated on the fact that all things being equal, that things are done right the way it's supposed to be. Because you know that is not the situation in our country, where money talks and everything else runs, truth runs, you know. So the question now is, let us dig into this particular situation that happened in 1993. I would like you to introduce us to it, and I would like you to give us, you know, factual evidence of what happened in 1993. You know, how did it happen? You know, go ahead.
Okay, in this matter, you know, the issue of 1993, where was the date and the year where Ahmed Bola Tinubu was in the picture of the case, because this is a case that had been investigated for long periods by FBI and DEA, which is the equivalent to NDLEA in Nigeria, which is the Drug Enforcement Administration in US, with the FBI, which is Federal Bureau of Investigation, and the Revenue Agency. So, and this is an issue of drug-related case that had been investigated for a long time. And in this issue of the drug case, was a lot of people involved. Somebody like Adeboye Moses and Akonde, and this person, and also Abiodun Abole, so a Nigerian, and also an American called Lee Andrew Edwards, who is the most person in charge of those case in terms of the running of the white heroin, which is what is stated. What I'm telling you is what is stated on the court documents. It's not blackmail. It's not we are not picking and choose. This is the information is available. Yeah, anybody can read it, and if they don't understand the legal terms, they could find a way to And also there is a company called Global Link, which was used at that moment. And there is this case also linked to the Tinubu wife named Oluremi Tinubu, and also somebody called Audrey Akonde. This is a family. So what happened is, it's not, we are not talking about prima facie, which is kind of, unreasonable ground to believe on first instance that maybe there was a confession in this case. Arrest was made, case was, prosecuted, and before this issue gets to the issue of Ahmed Tinubu during the time of the investigation. So it's not like issue of seizing money. He was really mentioned on the case. If you look at the affidavit of the detective, the person that investigated the case from the revenue. But what really happened in terms of money was, those money was traced back to him. The money of those transactions of the drug, the heroin, white heroin, was traced back to him. And those people.
And how much were we talking about here, as in total dollars, US dollars?
It's on series amount. It's not but what people really know is about the real money called 1.2 million plus dollars. But that is, if it's not all of the money we are talking about, because how the money was investigated and traced through Heritage Bank up till the Citibank. So we're talking about 400 and something thousand, 600,000. And when Tinubu opens the first account, after 5 days, he deposited $80,000 after 5 days. So, but without knowing that this case had been investigated, how the money been loaned to Akonde and co. And how the FBI closed in on this case was one of the person of interest working in this, the Yoruba guy, was arrested when an FBI bought a drug from this guy of $7,000. So FBI that time, they have been using kind of pager. That time pager was working. It's not like a cell phone. So those pager was tapped for several months and years until the FBI bought a drug of $7,000 from one of the suspects. And that suspect was arrested, and that suspect now mentioned those that he's been working with. So at that time,
that's how Tinubu's name came into the link, right?
Yeah, during the arrest. And the white person, which is Andrew Lee, was the person that when FBI busted his house, he was charged for attempt murder of one of the FBI agents. He was also convicted because he pleaded guilty on that case. But during the investigation, the FBI and the agent handling this case, because Tinubu claimed that he's working with Axel Mobile at that time as a treasury, and claimed that his salary at that time was $2,000, and he, on his own admission, he admitted he have no other source of income at that time. So when the investigator, called the staff of Action Mobile, they confirmed that Tinubu is their staff, but have not access to their funds. So there's no way he would have moved such a large amount of money in the name of the company, which he claimed that he been worked. So this is he was contacted on 2 occasions by the agent while he was in Nigeria. Which he denied that he did not have any other account in US except the one in Heritage. But the agent later found out during the course of investigation there was another account in the Citibank. And the account in the Heritage, money was moved. Those money was moved by Tinubu on instruction of Akonde. So the money still found in the Citibank. So it was not a prima facie case. This is a real case that was investigated. And at that moment, the agent requested from Tinubu to furnish him more documents regarding how he made his money and the salary and the income, which up to today he never complied with, until they decided that this money have to be seized because it's a proceed of crime. So it's not like somebody mentioned his name. He was investigated, his own statement was there, and his own interview. So he admitted knowing Akonde and knowing, in fact, they live in the same address. He was a director of the company, which, he claimed with Akonde. So this investigation chained together is not like on reasonable ground to believe. This is a real fact. So he was involved.
So I want to, because this is very lengthy, but I want to zero in on something, because if you are trying to accuse somebody or find somebody guilty of a particular crime, we want to have the link. You've showed us the link here, but when it comes to drug trafficking, how did the U.S. get Tinubu directly involved in that drug movement and linking it to the money and linking it to the accounts that we are talking about here?
You see, the arrest was made. There was a witness. There was a testimony. And there was his own interview. There was his own words in regard to the account. He never denied or anything about the money. He opened the account and he made the deposit. He moved the money, and this group has been under investigation prior to that. So it's not like calling somebody name. The documents are there, and the affidavit of the officer who investigated the case, which is Kevin Moss, and the lawyer represented Tinubu is still alive today. He can still, the name of the lawyer is Patrick S. Coffey. So
okay, it's not the one that lives in Chicago.
Yes. So this is the lawyer in
Can
question.
You share the picture of the? Okay, yeah, that's it.
Yes,
okay.
This is the lawyer in question.
So this is the lawyer that represented Tinubu during that.
Yes, it's the one file appearance on this case.
Okay.
This lawyer has been practicing for almost 30 years, in Chicago.
So my question here again is this: if Nigerian INEC was to investigate this particular situation, where could they find him, unqualified to run for the presidential election in Nigeria?
INEC is not, does not have jurisdiction to investigate case. There is a police, there is NDLEA, there is Economic Financial Crime Commission, ICPC, and the other, law enforcement agency, where a petition can be lodged. And when you come to the INEC, I already read the section 31, 1 to 6 to 7, where INEC is empowered to take action in this case. But somebody have to bring in that petition with these facts, considering if the person petitioned and requested for satisfied copy of the documents and affidavit submitted by the presidential candidate in question, and if it does not tally with this information, then there is misinformation where, the party can go to court and say the courts have the jurisdiction to address this issue under the section such. And this is where the case stands. May anybody have interest to further this case?
So, but we do understand that the Tinubu camp has been saying some things. They have been bringing out some erroneous statements to debunk this particular allegation. What would we say? What are they telling us? What is it that they're saying that actually happened rather than the truth that we are reading here right now.
Well, I listened to the Kemi Fire there, and what's this name? The lawyer, Festus Kayamu. But what I understand is they're not going deep on the argument, because going deep in argument will expose this case more. So they believe that Nigerians are not knowledgeable enough to dig into this case, and they fail to realize that the era has changed in terms of the Nigerian political equation have been change is no more the same. So their argument does not make sense, because what I heard is that they said that the money was seized, it was not linked to him. He was refunded 1 million. This is the court documents. There's nothing like that. So if they really want to debate this case, they need to come up and have copies of these documents, and then we can talk about it one by one. So I don't believe their argument, because their argument is meant to is a act of omission, to deceive Nigerians of what is happening. So the argument does not make sense legally, because we are not talking about prima facie case. We are talking about a comprehensive case that was investigated by FBI, a credible body, FBI and the Drug Enforcement Agency in America, and also the Revenue Agency, which comprises of testimony of a lot of people, including the bank, Heritage Bank, where Tinubu bought his vehicle, his address, how he lived, everything in and out. And he even admitted at that moment his salary was $2,000, and he admitted there's no other source of income. So I don't believe that he knew that this day will come. Yeah, so their argument is out of question. They have to argue based on the court documents, not based on their own mindset to deceive Nigerians.
Not based on their own mindset to deceive Nigerians. Wonderful. Yes. Akens, you're giving out some real good information here, and the viewers are following up. We have about 35 people listening to us, and we want to tell the viewers, if you have any question also, please bring in your questions, and let's tackle it here with Akens Azubike, our cyber security counterintelligence expert. So Azubike, I have a question, but we will go on a break. We'll go on a short break, and when we come back, we'll be looking at some other angles to this whole situation. We really need to enlighten our people. Azubike, you agree with me that for too long, Nigerians are not informed on some of their presidential selection, their presidential, their delegates and politicians. So they make wrong choices, and that's why we are going through what we're going through now. A situation where a wrong set of people are leading us. So
yes, I agree with you, because Nigerians, they talk about what happened in another country, about Trump, about Biden, about this. It become but on their own issue that they're supposed to look into, they will be sidelined over it. So, and this is a challenge for all the Nigerian journalists to do a proper investigative journalism, and find a way to verify the authenticity of these documents, because these documents are authentic. What was on the public domain was before like 2 or 3 pages is a fraction of these documents, but we are talking about close to 50 pages that we need time to analyze. So those documents are real, and the argument is baseless. The argument from the Tinubu team is baseless. And what Festus Kayamo was doing is combination of politics and law. Okay, being a lawyer, you're supposed to be neutral because you take an oath of allegiance to
Yes.
justice.
Thank you. We need to go on the break. As we you have a lot to say, and we are ready to hear from you. So sit back and we'll be back again. Thank you, viewers. This is Real Talk, and we're talking politics today with Ekens Azubike and my friend and partner, Sir George Chukwu in Canada. So we'll be right back. Thank you. Yes, Real Talk, our program where it's a forum where we look deep into issues that borders on people's life, explore those issues of concern to people, and also probably find best actions to best address them. So Real Talk today is on politics, and we're here with Ekens Azubike, founder and CEO of Ekens Security and Law Science Corporation. Ekens has all it takes on this topic we are looking into today. So it's politics time in Nigeria, and we're checkmating. We're digging deep into our presidential candidate, and on this one, we're looking into the APC presidential candidate, Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Ekens, I have my question. George is here with us. Ekens, what are the implications of this whole thing? This might sound too a little bit brutal as a question, but what are the implications of this if Tinubu becomes the president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria? What are we seeing?
There is something called security vetting. Okay, and when you are commander-in-chief of a country, you need to, associate yourself when you maybe being invited on G7, G8, or international, conference by other developed country, and nobody will really take you serious in terms of negotiation about your country. Because another thing is this is a network. Nobody knows if that network is still in place, even though it's about 30 years ago. And everybody know when it comes to issue of drug all over the world, is an international collaboration with all the drug law enforcement agencies. So unless Nigerians are, naive that they don't know anything have to do with international relations, for them to vote in somebody that will be their commander-in-chief, represent them internationally, there is an implication on this because US and other international organizations are very, very, strict when it comes to collaboration regards to the presidency. It looks like when somebody is commander-in-chief under the military regime, you can understand that it's not recognized anywhere within the international territory. So this issue need to be addressed because of the consequences. Nigeria, as a whole first.
I want to say something real quickly here, because now, number one is we understand, the modus operandi of Nigerians and the way they act and the way they think, and most of the time you will find somebody, like for instance, somebody was accused or allegedly stole billions of dollars. But these are the people they worship. These are the people that they don't care. It's almost like, oh, let them be type of attitude, which has become the situation that brought our nation on its knees right now, economically, financially, and socially. Nigeria is crawling. We're on our knees and hands right now because of that mode of thinking. So my question to you is, if our people don't care about what he did then, that disqualified him to run to run for the presidency of the country, how can we, who are concerned about this particular issue and the image that we hold outside the world, how can we ensure that the rule of law is applied in this, in order to make sure that everything comes up to the surface about this individual who is running to be the president of Nigeria?
The problem here, to my understanding, is like they are the ruling party and they're trying to cover up this because they have realized that they made the wrong choice and they did not consider all these informations because they thought it's a buried issue. They never know that more will surface. So it was their own mistake, that they did not, out of pressure. So I believe they already realized that mistake was done, but we still need to educate Nigerians because what happened is, they said in a proverb, you cannot sing hallelujah with an empty stomach. So because the government have used a systematic operation to dehumanize the entire public, not to educate them. So, and that is why they want the populace to remain uneducated, even though somebody could be a university graduate. This is the reason why that somebody reading, mass communication will graduate without, being computer literacy or have knowledge of computer, or even this is the reason why our library in the universities and labs does not have electricity, does not have a current curriculum for them to know what is going on. So the government believe that the elites, they forget that this 2023 election is not gonna be for elites, it's for to grassroots electorates. So they didn't see it coming, but the consequences is still there because in election 1 hour is almost 1 year. So people are waking up. Okay, people are waking up, and it's not gonna be business as usual. I hope people will, take advantage of Electoral Act, ask the proper question why INEC, should do the proper thing. So first, the people need to apply based on the Electoral Act to get satisfied copy of those affidavit and the document that was filed, and to find out that if there is something missing, because we are talking about drug case and the proceed of crime, property that issue of proceed of crime. So it's very, very, very consequential when it comes to being number one seat.
So my question again, I have another question. Tinubu was the governor of Lagos State. Was this issue before he was elected as governor, or was it after? If anyone of you
During the second tenure, to my understanding, during the second tenure, there was a former Inspector General of Police, which is Tafawa Balogun. I think so. Those issues came up then, but they did not, because when you write a petition, you need to support it with factual evidence. So if you have a unsubstantial evidence instead of substantial, probably I'm not gonna say there was a compromise then, but the IG did what he did at that moment, probably based on information at his disposal. But this is an international case. I believe that if the Nigerian police wanted to do a proper investigation, they can collaborate with their counterparts in America, even ask some question, to know. But I believe that there is no political will from the elite to investigate this case. But things have changed. It's not like before. So that was, to my knowledge, what happened then. The chance is still there that Nigeria can still wake up based on the Electoral Act, which was amended. As at then, the Electoral Act have not been amended. So this issue is like a fresh issue coming up, even though it links to the previous cases. And the subject himself should speak out instead of speaking through the nose, through the people that are been covering up the incidents. I believe Festus Kayamo, as a lawyer, supposed to do the proper thing by educating Nigerians in terms of speaking through the documents, not through his mindset to deceive Nigerians.
Sorry, can I ask this, Sir George? What about a situation where a collection of concerned Nigerians put a plea on this whole thing and
or a petition, per se?
Petition, yes. A communique or something. Can that be taken to INEC and to maybe some other security agency in Nigeria on this issue? What do you think? What do you think about that, Kent?
Yeah, I said on the Electoral Act, the Section 4 said that any person may apply to the Commission for a copy of nomination form, affidavit, and other documents submitted by the candidate. So anybody can do that. Anybody, don't need to be an opposition, a concerned Nigerian. Anybody can do that. Pay the fee according to the law, and within 14 days, INEC should be furnish the person with comprehensive documents. If the INEC failed to do that, then this issue is still issue of the court. And the Electoral Act does not stop there. They still went further. What can happen? What you will do with those documents after getting those documents from the INEC? What you intend to do with it? You can go to the court. And if the court find that there was a false, information or misleading information, the alternative there is to disqualify the person. That's what the electoral law said. I don't know why people are not exploring that, or people are not saying about that. The law should be taken advantage of.
Well, Mr. Gens, I can tell you the reason why people are not doing that. Because in Nigeria, money talks. No, they have the ability to use money to shut everybody up, and don't be too surprised what we're going on now on the studio, because we advertise this particular thing, and if you ask me, I would tell you that they might have something to do with the quality of this particular program that we're doing, because they have been trying to shut us up, but they cannot shut us up. It's not possible to shut us up because we are about real talk, real truth, and we bring the truth to the surface. Let the chip fall where it may. But the fact is, we will let you know the facts. We will bring the facts to the public, and the public will now make a decision what they want to do with those facts. The point we are making right here is, it is indeed, Nigerian has been brought to a place where they are on their knees. And these people have the resources, the financial resources, to stop people from bringing out the truth and exposing it. And when it comes out, they know where to go and use money, like what they're planning on doing on this election, to use money to shut people up. And those that are against them will turn around, they will buy them with money. But that's what we are fighting for in Nigeria. We are fighting that Nigeria will come out to become a nation that will be respected when it's mentioned around the world, to be the real giant of Africa. So they can try what they want, but the truth must come out. And when the truth comes out, we will let the public know, let the public do what they want with it. It is not our business, to push them to do whatever. But our business is to expose the truth and let the world know this is what is going on in Nigeria. And this is the type of people that are trying to rule our nation, that can continue to bring the type of corruption that have crippled that nation and brought us to our knees today. Brain drain all over the place.
But the thing here is the truth is out, and the people need to understand that truth. And that is why the people need to do the proper investigative journalism, even though it's not everybody that have the opportunity in order to do that. But there are some well-established news agencies in Nigeria that can take this case up. And the point again is whether money or not money, somebody need to try. We are talking about the judicial system because, it's because of the constitution of Nigeria is governed by three arms of government, the judiciary, executive, and the legislature. But the point there is, it seems like they are not independent. They act based on one, arms of government instruction, which is the executive. Because if not because of that, I believe people will, speak out in terms of the Nigerian Bar Association and some other agencies. So the opportunity is there, the Electoral Act is there. Somebody cannot sit down and say, because of money, cannot do what he's supposed to do. The Electoral Act say, apply and pay the appropriate fee within 14 days. INEC should furnish the person. So this is the first step. INEC, if somebody go and apply, have a satisfactory copy or have his own copy, within 14 days, if INEC default, the person can approach the court, but somebody need to try. We cannot sit back and say because of money, because of the corruption. I know. I was talking to somebody one time, he told me, if you don't have PhD in bribery and corruption, you cannot succeed doing anything in Nigeria. And this is a white person saying that because of his own experience. But we are not talking about because it's politics. What we are doing is the right thing for us to do. It's a fundamental right. People do that in US. People do that anywhere in the world. Nigerian own is not gonna be, something else, because these documents we are talking about here is not fabricated by anyone. The point here is there is an issue, and that issue needs to be addressed either by the subject by himself, or his spokesperson should speak through these documents, not through his own mind, for people to really know exactly. Because we are talking about, we are not talking about just money here. We are talking about issue of drug. And we are talking about 30 years old case, which was properly investigated by the appropriate agency. And the documents had been hidden for a long time. So this is the comprehensive documents that we need to follow up. And there is no two ways about it. Nobody is antagonizing anyone. There are a lot of educated Nigerians, both lawyers and association and the good Nigerians. They should do the proper thing, have copies of all these documents, and do the right thing, ask a proper question, and let the news agencies debate over this, because this is a real danger facing Nigeria as a nation. Okay, it's not do and die to be number one, take number one seat in Nigeria, but there is an issue at hand that needs to be addressed. This is not a local investigation for you to say that somebody been compromised during the investigation. And this case have not never been defended by the Tinubu himself. even though he was contacted, he was involved during the investigation, but he never opposed even the forfeiture of this fund because he cannot prove nothing. And I believe then the reason why he walked away is may he, argue this case further, it will land him into more problem. Because in US, if they check the trial, how long it's going to take and how much they are going to spend, then and they see that the person agreed to forfeit that fund and walk away, is a deal. That doesn't mean crime was not committed. That doesn't mean there was no crime because it's not only him. The other people, I believe, may still be alive. And the arrest was made, confession was made. The link was there. So it's not something like somebody trying to frame somebody up or trying to fabricate an issue against someone. This document is an authentic document, but you need to go through deep in order to get these documents instead of going on the surface. It's like when you are swimming on top of ocean, you will only see the top, but when you dive into deep sea, you can be able to see the bottom of the sea. So that's how those documents is there, almost 50 pages. And the Nigerians need to know the truth. Many Nigerians live in US. They should download copy and go to the courthouse. They should also speak out because of the consequences. Because if one person fell in Nigeria, the entire country already fell. So we are talking about issue of corruption. We are talking about issue of drug. And we are talking about, and the Nigerian problem has been corruption. So if somebody going to be there must be a clean hand for somebody to be there instead of acting in bad faith. But the problem is the people surrendering him are speaking in a way that they want to deceive Nigerians, but it's not there anymore. Let them come and somebody should hand them over these documents and they should debate page by page, not telling us what is not on the documents.
So with this, ladies and gentlemen, with these documents that we have found, that we discovered that has been displayed around the world today, we are inviting Tinubu himself to this show to come and defend himself. Tinubu, you are running for the presidency of Nigeria. Tinubu, you were once a governor. And we are inviting you to this show. Come and defend yourself. You are a candidate running for the election, presidential election in Nigeria. We don't need you to bring a surrogate here. We don't want you to bring a mouthpiece here. We want you to come on this show and defend yourself. Because if you do not, we will pursue this case all the way to the very end and make sure that the people in Nigeria who will see these documents will go all the way to INEC and make sure that every stone is turned. So this is what we are saying. And I don't know if this is going live and whether there's any comments coming from anywhere around the world. We are welcoming people right now. In case you want to ask any questions, we have a few more minutes before we go. So we're welcoming questions from around the world. If you have comments or questions, please bring it up if you're listening to us right now. Because this is very, very important to us. Because this compromise that is going on in Nigeria is coming to an end. And we must make sure that Nigeria is respected around the world when that name is mentioned. Enough is enough. Zero compromise in our country. So if you have any questions or any comment, please, feel free to do that. Call in or type your questions. And, the honorable man here, Ekens Azubike, will be more than happy to answer.
Thank you very much, Bluetooth George. Again, I have one last little question. But during his tenure as governor, Bola Ahmed Tinubu visited America on several occasions, and even after his tenure as governor, I know he goes there. Now, why haven't they? Why was he moving around and never interrupted or held with all these allegations on him? Why was he having that smooth movement?
You know, in America, their judicial system is so robust that, in the sense that they respect what is called Second Amendment to everyone. But the issue there is, you can see last time when the presidential candidate of PDP went to US only for 3 days, right? Was guaranteed a pardon. So there are a lot of judicial capabilities in US if you have a good lawyer, you know, as long as he have not been charged for this issue. But some people went in for this case, and during the interrogation and the investigation, they now find out where the money was going, where the money is not going, and who is behind. Okay, so during the investigation, the money was from seized, but when it comes to criminal cases, I think you have some years for you to bring for the charge, even though sometimes up to tomorrow they can still open that case. So when it's criminal case, sometimes it's not civil. If it's civil, you have a time limit to sue, because this one investigation may be closed, but doesn't mean that they throw away the file. If there is a new fact tomorrow that somebody need to bring to book based on this, or new information, investigation normally does not close, you know, unless if it's unsolved crime, then they put it somewhere waiting, something like before, when somebody may kill someone, there is no technology for the DNA, and maybe after some years you find out that they need to go back to that. So it's not like the case is off the dock. As long as it's consigned, they can still do something if there is much evidence. But now we are talking about nobody knows his agreement. We can still look into that, and he may ask for waiver and seal it, not to disclose it. So we cannot assume that you have nothing there.
Can we talk a little bit about the pardon that was given to the PDP candidate Atiku? Can you talk a little bit about that? What was the crime? Can you tell the people, what was it that he was being pardoned about? Do you know?
This case, you have to do with a lot of things. That is a case of another day, because it was an issue of still about corruption. There is somebody called Jefferson, Jefferson case.
Mm-hmm.
So that person was convicted in America, and this case was linked to Atiku Abubakar, So it's very odd when America will be, investigating a case in their own land, telling us what is happening in our own country that we turn blind eye on. So this is how this case was. So if Nigeria is a good country where system is working properly, they would have said, wait a minute, can we, they may do something over it, but still, so that Jefferson case was really tough, and we are talking about that one have to do with corruption. It's not a drug case.
Okay, well, I think money laundering was also involved in this situation. Yeah, so what I would like us to do is...
Yes, sorry, George. I think our time is running up. But I think I want Keynes to come and talk on this. This is also yes, but we are out of time. Bluetooth George, Keynes Azubike, you've done wonderfully well, giving us insight.
Thank you so much.
Yes. So George, please wrap it up, and let's call it quit for today.
Anyway, viewers around the world, you have heard. This is Real Talk with Massive Mark and Bluetooth George here. We've brought the documents to you. Now the case is in your court. What you want to do with it? But next time when we're going to bring a case again, the possibility that we're going to be talking about the pardon that was given to Atiku, who is the PDP presidential candidate, we will bring documents to show you exactly what happened, what brought about the pardon and how the pardon took place. These are the people that are wanting to rule our nation. We're bringing criminals who want to come and run our nation, and we must let them know that enough is enough. Nigeria must stand. We are one Nigeria, and we must stand. We stand for truth. We stand for fairness. We stand for equity in that country. Thank you so very much from around the world. Thank you, Mr. Ekens Azubike.
Thank you very much.
Fantastic contribution. Massive Mark. I appreciate you very much. Now, thank you so everybody.
I hope Nigeria.